So thank you all for welcoming me back. I'm so glad to be here and so happy that I could fill in on short notice. So we need each other to survive. There's no doubt about it. Humans have always been community-centered creatures. And with both our advances in technology and the rapidly changing landscape of our world, our interconnectedness has never been more apparent than before. And our churches are no different. And nearly 400 years ago, our forebears also understood that churches needed each other to survive. And although I suspect this conversation has been happening since the beginnings of organized religion, Unitarian Universalism is a relational faith. It is dependent on the interactions and relationships between people, between spirit, and between the universe of all existence. We covenant together, not alone. And it's a living, dynamic faith. It's a faith with a long history, which can be traced all the way back to the origins of Christianity. And it was once two different Christian denominations, and now it is very proudly its own. Unitarian Universalism is many things to many people. And at its core, it is the people who make our faith relational. The people gathered here today and all around the world, and our faith ancestors who shaped our faith into what it is today, and all who will shape it into what it will be in the future. Our relational faith is the work of all who have come together because they believe in the saving power of sacred community. Through all the evolutions of our living faith, there is a sacred thread of relationship and community. And it is in this joining together, in faith and with faith, that what we are doing here matters. And it matters that we do this work in sacred community. And how we come together as communities of faith and care has been a deep concern for as long as the strands of our faith have existed. The Cambridge Platform was written in 1648 as a form of governance for New England churches. And in this time, before our country declared its independence from England, churches were more integrated with the government. And therefore, having an agreed-upon structure was useful. And though churches worked as a proxy of sort for the state, colonists of this time were clear that they did not want another Church of England. And to be fair, there are parts of the Cambridge Platform that relate to governmental structures that no longer apply to us today. But the foundation for our faith's governance comes from this document. And it has never been more clear how governance can make or break a denomination or a society. The Cambridge Platform outlined a type of governance called congregational polity, which is a term you likely know. And it simply means that the governance of our congregations is decided by each congregation. And it is arguably one of the most beloved aspects of our Unitarian Universalist faith, especially among those of us who have come from traditions with strong hierarchical structures. But there's more to it than that. Today, the Cambridge Platform serves as a foundation for one of the defining characteristics of our UU churches. It established many freedoms, both freedom to and freedom from. We are free from hierarchy and autocratic leadership structures. We are free to choose our leadership. Authority is shared in our congregations and association. Our individual congregations are free to operate autonomously, and we are free to develop our own covenants and develop our own congregational cultures. We, as individuals and congregations, are free to follow our own spiritual and religious journeys. And this freedom must be balanced with responsibility. The Cambridge platform balanced this freedom with a high level of commitment from both the individuals and the congregations. Church membership in the 17th century was serious business. And though the societal structures are different today, Unitarian Universalism remains a faith that calls us into active participation. Reverend Susan Frederick Gray said at the 2018 General Assembly, "This is no time for a casual faith." And there she was referring to the resurgence of white nationalism. And as the fabric of our democratic society continues to be pulled at, these words are more true than ever. And also, I don't know if there ever is a time for a casual faith as a UU. Our faith is an active, living faith, and that does not happen without active involvement in the growing and sustaining of our faith, both the collective and the individual. And relationship is the framework through which we practice our living, dynamic faith. And the Cambridge platform outlined a foundation for how we do this. As UUs, we commit to living our faith by creating and abiding by covenants. We make covenants as congregations, small groups, and between each other. We commit to regularly revisiting these covenants, lest they become stale and rote and devoid of meaning. And we commit to both our individual and collective spiritual and religious growth and education. We commit to living our values, even when they are in opposition to the dominant culture. We commit to the ideals of beloved community. And we hold hope that one day our Unitarian Universalist values will be the dominant culture. And when that day comes, it will still be no time for a casual faith. Upholding our values will always require active participation. And finally, we commit to supporting each other and holding each other accountable to our values with love and compassion. This includes both individuals and congregations. And it's this final part that I want to lift up. As a whole, UUs today mostly embody the tenets of the Cambridge platform well, but there's always room for growth. On the congregational level, we are not always very good at holding each other accountable to our values, and we are not always very good at supporting each other. As our denomination has grown, much of this has been outsourced to regional staff. And there are certainly instances where this is best, and we have wise and compassionate counsel within our region and all across our denomination. And as it goes, as organizations grow and shift alongside societal shifts, We fall out of habit of practices that sustain and support us. And I believe that this is the case for UUs and this aspect of our congregational polity. In these times where we need strong networks more than ever, renewing our commitment to upholding congregational relationship is vital. And it also must be named that part of this falling away from relationship is a function of American exceptionalism, individualism, and late-stage capitalism. These systems of oppression are always at work, constructing a world that hoards power and resources away from the majority. And these oppressive systems know how powerful strong communities are. Yesterday, people all across the nation showed up in force to remind our government and our country how powerful strong communities are. And when we show up for each other, and when we name these things, we help dismantle their power and root them out of our congregations and society. We help construct the world that we dream about. And in the time the writing of the Cambridge platform, there was a greater sense of mutuality among churches, and many reasons for that. Some no longer apply today or to every situation. But in that time, it was expected that churches would do regular pulpit swaps, that they would gather together at one church or another occasionally. It was also expected that larger and more established churches would help newer and struggling churches. This could be material support, or consulting, educating. This mutual support and care could be so many things. And it was expected that congregations helped each other in whatever ways they could. And congregations would be offended if a neighboring church was struggling and did not reach out. Among these churches was a commitment to mutual growth and success through relationship. One of my favorite authors, Robin Wall Kimmerer, says that all flourishing is mutual. When we make a commitment as individuals and as congregations to doing the work of being in relationship, we foster mutual flourishing. We become stronger, and our faith becomes richer. And this is not always easy. The churches of New England of the 17th century and still today are geographically close. So many of our churches in Florida and other places are very isolated. And this invites the question of how can we be relationally supportive across distance and in challenging terrain? Now, since COVID has grown our comfort and savvy with tech, it's also grown our ability to connect and be in relationship across the distances. We now have the greater ability to attend services of other congregations, to have guests, worship leaders, and speakers from across the country. And we can attend denominational events such as General Assembly from our living rooms. And we can connect with the different ministries throughout our denomination. And though we sometimes tire of being on screens, reframing this time as connection is helpful. All of these things offer opportunities to deepen our relationships through the interconnected expanses of our faith. And we are fortunate here in the Tampa Bay area to have congregations somewhat close to each other. Many of our congregations walk together in pride. Our area cluster also helps to foster this mutual flourishing. And I wonder how else we can strengthen our relationships with each other. How can we get creative with building these relationships? And I find the greater living world to be a wonderful source of inspiration for so many things. Robin Wall Kimmerer's book, The Serviceberry, works as a metaphor for the ways deeper congregational relationships can change our faith and change us. And I always recommend the audiobooks because Kimmerer reads them herself, and it's so good. But this book, The Serviceberry, is an ode to the magic of reciprocity and the abundance which naturally follows it. And I found this short book to be rich with metaphors about the joys and gifts of reciprocal relationships. The same processes which create abundance in nature can create abundance in our congregations. We need each other the same way that berries need birds and birds need berries. Together we do what we cannot do alone. And when you remember that Unitarian Universalism is a relational faith, a faith founded in covenant, created by us, for us, then reciprocity is non-negotiable. Yet empirical forces would like to convince us otherwise. The falsehood of individualism and exceptionalism can be convincing at times, but the power and joy of community will defeat them every time. This call to community is part of our religious responsibility as Unitarian Universalists. It is our sacred responsibility to each other, to our faith, and it is how we know another world is possible. Our forebears were also in a struggle with empirical forces as they worked to build a nation of opportunity. They needed each other to withstand the pressures and tribulations of that time. They found a way through relationship, and today we can do the same. There are genuine fears of scarcity in our country now and in our churches as well. Everyone's resources of time, talent, and treasure are being affected by global and local forces. It's easy to slip into an attitude of scarcity, but that rarely offers a lasting solution. Abundance frameworks offer more fulfilling and longer-lasting solutions. And this isn't about toxic positivity. This is about subverting empirical forces. Abundance and reciprocity frameworks ask us to share and move in different ways, in ways that haven't been done before, in ways that don't just deplete, they reciprocate and build, and often in inverse proportions. The secret ingredient in an abundance framework is relationship. The relationships built, sustained, and deepened through reciprocal sharing is the force that changes the equation. Reciprocity and relationship is what brings a vitality to our faith. It brings our faith to life. And when we connect with the wisdom of our faith ancestors, that too is relationship. There are few thresholds that relationship cannot bridge. And when we center our relationship in our spiritual and religious practice, we keep our Unitarian Universalist faith alive. And so, in short, the Cambridge platform created the foundation for a culture of church governance rooted in mutual love and care for each other and for the church itself. It brought authority into a place of shared mutuality rather than hierarchical dominance. Though much has changed in our faith since the creation of the Cambridge platform, this thread of mutuality in love, care, and authority has been a constant. We keep our faith alive when we heed the wisdom of the Cambridge platform. This was the way of our ancestors, and I believe it is our path for the future. May it be so.